Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mario Hemsley. This is Pack Stereo TV. Welcome to Conversations with Shark Tank winners, and here's your host, everybody, Ray Ibarra.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pack Stereo TV. This is Ray Ibarra, and we're starting our second season of Conversations with Shark Tank winners. We have an outstanding guest. She is the only Shark Tank entrepreneur to have starred also on the hit reality show Survivor. Welcome to the studio, Dr. Edna Ma. Edna, welcome.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Edna, let's begin by tell us a little bit about yourself and how you happened to get on Shark Tank and also Survivor.
So I'm a board-certified anesthesiologist, and I started a company called Bareease. And about 1.5 years into launching Bareease, I decided I thought it would be a good idea to try to get on Shark Tank. Now, just to backtrack a little bit, Bareease is a product that numbs the skin in the bikini area before waxing or laser, so it doesn't have to hurt. And I got motivated to create this product because as an anesthesiologist, we're always concerned about pain prevention and pain management. And when I got my first bikini wax, it was really, really painful. So I basically applied my experience of taking care of children in the hospital, like numbing their skin before starting an IV, and applying that instead of to the back of a hand where an IV is started to the bikini area, so the skin is numbed before waxing.
Did you take that on Survivor with you?
I tried to.
Yeah.
I did, because you know how on previous seasons they allow you to bring a luxury item. So sometimes it would be like some people brought a Texas flag. One contestant was from Texas, so they would have that as a luxury item. This was my luxury item, but it obviously would have been kind of weird to be on an island and have nobody to wax you and have this numbing kit. But it didn't appear on TV.
Mario, and introduce Mario, the tech guru. How you doing, man?
Fine. You know, really impressed with Dr. Edna Ma's products here. For those of you who haven't had a chance, we've got it there. Later on, when we get a moment, we'll take you on a little tour of her website where you can see all about the Bareease products, where you can order, okay, and find out where to find her products locally.
Edna, your experience on Shark Tank, your experience on Survivor, tell us about the experiences on both shows, what it was like behind the scenes. Are they the same? Are they different? Did you use some of your experience from Survivor when you went on Shark Tank?
So I did Survivor about 3 years ago, and then Shark Tank about a year or so right afterwards. And they're totally different shows, because on Shark Tank, you're prepped 3 or 4 months in advance in the comfort of your own home with technology and all that stuff, and then you're on the studio recording for maybe about half an hour to 45 minutes. And then for Survivor, it was the exact opposite. I was kind of recruited by one of the casting people, and I had 2 weeks before I could get ready, and then off I was. We went to Samoa, and I was there. I hadn't really had a chance to study the game and the strategies and all the challenges, and so I had very little time to prep, and I was just kind of thrown to the wolves.
What was
totally different?
What was a day like on Survivor? Like when you got up in the morning? One thing I wanted to ask you before I forget here is this. You always see Jeff Probst, the host. He gives you instructions for a challenge. Okay. And there's so much in those instructions, and you guys are all tired. You've been through a lot, maybe the day before. Does he go over those instructions again, or is it only one time, like shown on the show?
No, so they allow you to. Everything's done in one take, and so he'll explain it as if he were explaining on TV, and then they have each group, each team, have an opportunity to kind of walk the challenge and to ask questions individually. So if I had asked a question and you were on the other team, we get to ask that in private. So you wouldn't necessarily get in advance, oh, I didn't think of that question. And so you get to ask that in private. And then when they say, contestant or survivor's ready, and then they say go, then that was after they had a chance to walk through and ask all the questions that you have for the challenge.
So then you go through the challenge on there, and how long does a challenge usually last? Because I know they edit everything down.
Yeah, so it depends. Totally depends on the challenge. It can be anywhere from just a few minutes to it can be up to an hour.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time. And how many challenges do they normally give you in say, a week on the show?
So this kind of goes back to your first question, like
Yeah.
what's it like for normal day to day? There's not challenges every day. It's usually once every 3 days, and so it gets really boring. So you're just forced to talk to these people that you're stuck there 24 hours a day, and there's no electricity or any way to see what you're doing during the nighttime. So usually you just go to sleep when the sun sets, and then you just like lay there cold because you're usually on the beach, and then I don't know if you've ever went camping, but if you're right on the ocean, that ocean breeze just keeps blowing on you, and it gets really cold at night, and you're just sleeping in the clothes that you wore. There's no sleeping bag. There's no like Holiday Inn or whatever. There's you're sleeping on the ground with the rats and then the cockroaches or whatever there are, scorpions and snakes. And you can hear them like after you've been there for a while. You can hear them like scattering up the roof and like getting inside the your shelter.
Do you have a fear of bugs, or do you have a fear of snakes or anything like that?
Not so much. I think they're probably more scared of us than they are, and I do, but I just am very cognizant of that. And like you know, if you have to go up to empty your bladder or whatever in the middle of the night, you have to like walk in the pitch dark or whatever, the moonlight, and find a place to pee, not too close to your shelter because you don't want your shelter to smell like urine. And then the next day when you wake up, usually it's around 5 in the morning. You just kind of guess what time it is, and then you just the whole day is camping. Like you go find firewood, you go find food, and you go wash your clothes in the ocean or do whatever you need, or fish. So it's just like that for 3 days, and then the challenge is like 1 day every 2 to 3 days.
So how much weight did you lose when you went on, when you finally got off the show? And did you get a meal right after you were booted off?
Oh yeah, I was ready to be voted off because I was like, oh my gosh, look at those people who got voted off. They're so happy over there. I started the game at around 113 pounds, and then I went down to like 95 pounds because they weigh you right after you get voted off. So and it was a kind of a balancing act. It's like, okay, I have 2 weeks to get ready. I want to, you know, carb load and get some weight on, but you don't want to look too fat for your photos, your casting photo. And so it's like you kind of a balance like that. And then they, as soon as you get voted off, somebody escorts you to medical and to weigh you and do an intake and just make sure you're okay. And then we've had one of the other contestants on my season, she got really bad refeeding syndrome because she basically, then there's like somebody who cooks anything you want for you. And then these people would eat a lot, and she got refeeding syndrome. Her legs got really swollen. She had fluids built up in her lungs.
Folks who don't know, when people have face starvation, it's a common thing that you think the first thing you do is plug IVs in and do all that kind of stuff, but actually it's contraindicated, like Dr. Ma just told you, and they actually can get sicker at the time you start to refeed them.
Yeah, so you get people can actually die from this because you have a lot of electrolyte imbalances. And so she actually ended up having, another doctor come in and get some of that fluid off her because she couldn't even breathe. She had so much fluid because your protein levels that give you kind of fluid balance, equilibrium, it's totally deranged. And so it was really, they almost had to medevac her out somewhere else for treatment.
Do you really make enemies on the show, or is that just part of the way that the game is set up and you forget about it afterward?
The thing is, it's a reality show. It's a reality show, but the thing is, they're playing with your real emotions. Because you start to, you know it in your mind it's a game, but you start to get to know people. Like, you literally sleep next to these people, and you depend on these people to keep you warm at night and help you find food and help you to have this little ecosystem and environment, and then you don't expect them to betray you. But after you've lived with somebody and that closely for over a month, and then they betray you, that's playing on your real emotions.
So, when in the season recap, then when you're talking and you're in the audience crowd and they're going to pick the survivor winner, then when you see a video or scenes from somebody saying something about you, or you find out about it right there on the spot, do you get really pissed off?
For me, I feel like I try to keep at a distance because probably that person is whoever's saying negative things about me or whatever has probably got more problems than I have, or I can't be bothered with some of that stuff. And you have to have some level of emotional detachment because not just the people who you played with, but there's some really hardcore Survivor fans out there. They will just out in the internet world who are very vocal about things that they don't like about you or the way that you play the game or whatever. They will voice themselves, and so I try not to focus on those negative things.
You didn't get any like really, really bad, nasty tweets, did you?
Generally not.
Uh-huh.
I'm very careful about those type of things, partly because it's like, hey, it'd have to be really, really upsetting to me in order for me to say something that would provoke me.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any regrets after you got on the island, like after the first or second day, and said, I want to get out of here?
Yeah, I almost quit.
Really?
But the thing is, like literally every day I cried, pretty much. And every day. Because I'm this physician, I had this great job in Southern California, and I make this great salary, and I had people
That
literally...
wasn't enough.
I had people, like, literally, they asked me, like, oh, they go, some of the nurses have known me for a very long time. I found your favorite stool, and we found it in the other OR, and I bring it to you so you can sit it all day. And so they were like, oh, do you want me to put some lunch aside for you? And have people, like, just pretty much waiting on me. And then I go out to the island, and these people don't know me from anybody else, and they're just so rude. And I'm the smallest person in stature and size, and the lightest weight. And it's not very beneficial for them to win group challenges when you have this person who's barely 100 pounds sitting on your team. And so I was the first. I was like of the people who have played Survivor, the highest number of votes casted against me on a female player. Casted against me. They wanted me off the island.
They wanted you off.
Yeah.
What about that, Mario?
Wow, amazing. The whole story is so amazing. Here's a person, a physician. Now, Dr. Ma, had you had any experience whatsoever in Survivor kinds of things? Were you that kind of girl?
No.
Were you
It was
a
definitely
tough girl?
I have gone camping before, but that's like, you go to REI, you buy your tent, you
Right.
have a sleeping bag, you have matches. It's not like that. So, but I thought, when I went to the casting audition, I thought, okay, I know Mark Burnett will be there, and I'm going to go in there and say, I'm Dr. Ma. I created this product. It's called Bareease. It numbs your skin before waxing or laser, so it doesn't have to hurt. And I did do that. But they're like, this girl is crazy. And so we want that crazy person to be on our show, because they all kind of feed on drama, So I thought that they would say, you'd be perfect for my other show. But they didn't. They just said my perception is that they like to seek an ethnically diverse cast, and I fit that ethnically diverse cast slot that they were looking for.
And then some.
And then they decided, okay, sure, why not? She came to us, so I'm like, okay, sure. And how often do you have somebody say to you, you have a 1 in 18 chance of winning $1 million? You can find out in 2 months. You can win $1 million. 1 in 18 or 0 in 18 if you say no.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm up for an adventure. Why not?
Yeah.
And that's how
amazing.
That's how I ended up on the show.
Some of the Shark Tank entrepreneurs that I've spoken to, they say that they have a Shark Tank post-traumatic stress syndrome, that they can't watch their episode after it airs because of what happened or something they didn't like. Was it easy for you to watch your episodes, seeing yourself on Survivor, or was it difficult?
I didn't actually. There's some episodes I didn't watch, partly because I just you don't have any control over how you're edited, and I didn't actually. I haven't watched that much Shark Tank afterwards, just because you just hear the music, you see that shot going down the corridor with the 2 rows of sharks.
Right.
You just get, for probably a month after I filmed Shark Tank, I couldn't sleep. I should have said this. I should have said that. I should have said this, and I probably would have gotten a deal. Survivor, it was like worse. It was like a year.
Wow. Because
the show airs for a year, and I was on every episode of the show, and I was just crying, and I was just looking terrible, and it was like you just relived those emotions, because when I filmed, literally like 4 months later, less than 4 months later, they started airing the episodes, so everything was very, very fresh in my memory.
Mm-hmm. Was it tough not to say anything after you finished your Survivor experience, and also when you went on Shark Tank? You can't say a word until...
there's a gag order.
Yeah. Is that tough?
Well, because first of all, I went away for so long. I just literally took a personal leave of absence, and my colleagues thought I had gotten cancer or got a divorce, or my husband chopped me up and put me in the backyard. And because the gag order extends to your family members too. The family members that you tell who you're going to, there's a gag order or an NDA for those family members as well. So he wasn't allowed to say that he was like, she's on a business trip. So everybody thought I was in China doing like warehouse, like manufacturing tours. But even in China, they have internet and telephone, right? So, but I wasn't even responding to any emails or telephone calls.
Right. Wow. That's really something.
Let's take a look at Dr. Ma's site, tell you a little bit about her and about the product. We love to do this. It's our chance to feature our guest, Dr. Edna's Bareease. Meet Dr. Edna. About Edna Ma MD. Keeping your bikini area hair-free is a pain, literally. Your favorite waxing salon may be skilled in hair removal, but they still haven't come up with a surefire solution for alleviating the pain.
You know, it sounds funny when you have a very masculine voice like you on my website. It cracks me up.
Dr. Edna Ma, a board-certified anesthesiologist, understands that being beautiful needs not be painful. She then devised a plan to make bikini waxing a less dreadful experience. Thus the genius of Bareease. With the new Bareease, you can have a hair removal experience that you will actually enjoy. Let me tell you a little bit about the product background. Just like most women, Dr. Edna Ma found bikini waxing to be a painful experience. With that in mind, she used her knowledge and experience in anesthesiology to create the kit. Let's take a look, you all, now at the kit. This will be wonderful. Here we go. We're going to switch to her video right now.
And I'm letting you know right offhand, the most impressive social media site as far as organization and detail.
Oh, you're very kind.
I've been just kind of being cheered on of kind of envy.
Oh, very kind.
So I'm just letting you know. I keep
Very
going
kind.
back.
Wonderful site.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Unbelievable.
Very
And
kind.
definitely wonderful, and the way it's laid out is perfect. Take a look, everybody.
It wasn't right down there. It looks like it was burnt. I wish I would have known that there were less harsh waxes out there for sensitive skin, but I guess I learned my lesson the hard way.
Well, bikini waxes don't have to be painful anymore. There is a pain-free option.
Nico, you pay attention?
Edna Ma is back, and the question, how does this work?
Well, I took my knowledge from medical school and residency and how we numb the skin before starting an IV in a child and translated that into a bikini kit that you can wear.
So basically topical anesthetic?
Yes, it's local anesthetic, 4% lidocaine, and it comes with a disposable panty that it can be worn
I
under
like
your
the
clothes
panty.
discreetly. Yeah, it's a cute panty too.
I brought a special sample just for you.
45 minutes.
You have a lot of questions, Joe.
Yeah, I'm just curious. We use that cream in kids before
Yes,
IVs.
exactly
So
that.
This is a great kit because you actually do want the lidocaine on there about 30 minutes before you get the bikini
We've
wax.
changed
So
the
women
packaging
can
since
actually,
to be more
you know,
compact.
put the panties on and the thing and
Wonderful.
go or sit
You
there.
have
and be
another
comfortable.
career,
And
I
we
think, on the
actually have
doctors here,
esthetician
man.
Jamie
Yeah.
Fishman from
Well,
Colology
my phone number
Skincare
is
here in
available.
LA.
I'm
Backstage.
available.
Oh, here's what- this
in
the
our
part when they
procedure room,
actually-
Gonna put this to the test on our brave volunteer Michelle.
PG.
Now, some men,
There
we're
you
going to talk
go.
about that in a minute, her male product
Wax.
uses too.
Oh.
I looked, no, Edna, I looked. Oh, yeah.
Skin tight and we're done.
Looking for a sample.
has she been numbed already?
Look at that. She didn't even know. Did it hurt?
Didn't flinch.
Yeah. Did it hurt?
All right, you see that?
Not it?
Now, that's not enough. That's not enough. She's got male products too. Now imagine all the men with hair on their backs and shoulders. I just thought that some of the names are kind of interesting because she has a product called Numb.
I'm sorry.
For men, the Numb.
They didn't actually allow me to say that on TV.
It's called internet television now.
It's called numb nuts, ladies.
Numb
and gentlemen.
nuts.
Numb nuts. I know when I
I
first-
love it, everybody. Take a look. Numb nuts.
We made it blue, you see?
Okay, check it out. For pain associated with hair removal, Numb Nuts Pain Removing Cream will be your savior when it comes to your waxing sessions. It's for men. This breakthrough numbing kits help reduce the pain inflicted from waxing your intimate areas.
Oh my God.
Now, there are segments of our population that are really into hairlessness. Okay, there are groups of individuals that we know, especially in the gay population. Let's just say it. And so hairlessness is a big deal. And so You know, and a number nose is even more important.
Oh no! This is what I've learned.
You need numbnuts, brother. You need that, man.
So you see, you trim your hedge so your tree looks taller.
That's good. I like that, man. Oh boy.
You can say it
I
here.
couldn't say it on ABC.
Yeah, that's great. I love
That's so
that.
wonderful. And you know what? Even though you laughed, I can tell you when I saw this, I said, brilliant, because I know that there are men who out there who are really funny about their body hair.
And it's becoming more mainstream for the heterosexual group too.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
So
And some of us don't have much anyway.
So how long did it take you to develop these products? When you first like put your idea to paper, what motivated you to do this, and then how long was the process to create this?
So it took me. Well, I knew this was going to work. It's a niche product, and there hadn't been any products like this that had been created for by a physician, kind of with the safety in mind and the delivery system in mind. There are numbing creams, of course, and they're for other purposes, and more kind of dermatologic purposes, but nothing like made by a woman with a physician background concerned about toxicity and safety. And so I had that kind of idea brewing in my head. It took from maybe about 2 years, I would say, maybe 2.5 years by the time we have actually got everything going and the website going and everything, from concept like to execution.
Now I know on Shark Tank, you're a full-time doctor.
Yeah, and I was still full time when I was during this process.
Well, I know that then on your episode, because the big objection on Shark Tank was, well, how are you going to make this successful when you're running a full-time business? You're really occupied. You're really busy with your practice. So how are you going to make this successful? So talk to us about that experience, and how did you get through that?
I would say that even if I were to move full time into this business, I'm a little bit more experienced and knowledgeable now. But had I gone just like quit my medicine job and just started doing this full time, it still probably wouldn't have been that much beneficial, because I don't know anything about launching a business, and I'm just kind of learning along the way. And in fact, it's probably easier to go to medical school and become a physician than trying to launch your own product, because they tell you it's a formula. You do this, this, and this, and then you arrive at your MD, your degree, and you graduate and become a physician. Then you go on residency. It's a very clear path. Like when you launch a product and create a new business, a lot of times it's never done before. So even if I had quit my job as a physician and started doing this full time, I may not have gotten there faster or more successfully.
Mm-hmm. I know that Mark Cuban had said, made some statements on there about that. And then when you were walking off and you didn't get a deal, what were you feeling like when you walked through those doors? When you walked through going in and when you walked through going out?
Okay, when I walked through going in, I was like, there's no music, so it's just like you kind of walking, and this camera guy with this big rig is following you, and you're like, oh, this is exactly like it's on TV. This is exactly. And then the first time you see any of the sharks, it's not like you're hanging out in the green room with them having coffee or whatever. It's the first time you see or interact with them. It's when you come down the corridor and the doors swing open, and then they sit there and then they stare at you, and then you stare at them for a whole minute, and you're trying not. It's like a blinking contest. These people you feel like you know from watching all their their episodes. And then so you feel very nervous, and I'm like smiling, grinning with this crazy grin. You can't even see that my eyes are open, right? And when I left and I didn't get a deal, when walking down the hallway, I was like, you know what? I should I felt that they didn't think that I had enough hustle or enough grit in me to say, hey, look, you're not putting enough of you. And I wanted to turn back around and say, you guys are wrong. Because I went and stayed on an island and wore one pair of underwear for 33 days.
Right,
and just to try to raise money for my business. And I wanted to turn around and tell them that, but I was coached by my production team that I could not mention Survivor, and that I could not mention anything that was on CBS, which is Survivor. And in one of my product inserts, it has this, it has my Survivor logo on it, and they when the sharks received samples to play with, the insert had been removed. And so anything that was related to Survivor or CBS was removed from that, from my product. Wow. So they didn't know. And so I wanted to turn back around and say, you guys were wrong. I work much harder than you realize, and you don't know this whole other side of me that is willing to do anything for the business. And for a month, I really couldn't sleep because I was like, I said I should turn around. I should have turned around. And at this point, you don't know if your episode's going to air.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason
yeah,
why I didn't turn around was because I'm like, I don't want to piss off the producers. If I piss off the producers, and my show will definitely not air. And so that was kind of the balance I had. Like, should I tell them and say, hey, you sharks are wrong, and risk not having my episode air, or just like keep my mouth shut and just go down that hallway and just hope that they'll air me because I did everything that they asked.
You think being a little woman had anything to do with that? I mean, because, you know, sometimes men, you know, from the medical world, the good old boy network, do they tend to underestimate some of our females who can certainly hold their own?
Yeah, I think
You've
so.
proven that. You've proven
I
it.
think that partly is a couple different stereotypes, like a female and then being Asian. It's like that there's certain stereotypes that people, you know, carry with them when you interact with you the first time. I think there's a component of that. And of course, like, there's 5 of them sitting across from one of me, you know,
Right.
and I don't have anybody like Kevin O'Leary yelling at me.
Right,
and
right,
They
right.
obviously know where the power differential is. So
Oh, totally.
I see Miko shaking her head back there in agreement. You want to say something to that, Miko?
I totally agree with her, but what I wanted to ask you, Dr. Edna, what was the hardest question that they threw at you on Shark Tank that you felt it was difficult to answer due to your product presentation?
the most difficult question. Yeah, I did very much. I try to prepare myself the same way that I do for any exam for medical school or boards or whatever. I go through old test exams. You know, you can know all the knowledge that you want, but just like on Jeopardy, these people who are really high winners, they know what type of questions that you're going to be asked. So I studied all the questions. I got every single episode. I watched what the questions were. I wrote down the questions, and the answers, how they
So
would pertain to my
type A.
business. So yeah, you don't want to blow this opportunity. I mean,
Right.
they tell you 2 or 3
Right.
months in advance.
I understand.
Why would you want to be like, oh, what's your ROI?
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
or something
true.
like that. You don't want
Right.
to look like, because you know who looks stupid is you.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so, and they're not gonna.
And you represent
Yeah, and so you don't, and you don't just don't represent yourself, but you represent like everybody around
every
you.
woman, every woman
Yeah.
entrepreneur.
Exactly, and so I didn't want to look like, if I had if this is my control, I know this is like public information's on the internet.
Right.
Why shouldn't I prepare?
Right.
So I answered all the questions. I think that I don't know the hardest. I guess for me, I didn't demonstrate a lot of sales, and I think that hurt me a lot because I didn't have like 6 figures. And of course, if I
Right.
had 6 figures worth of sales, I want to be on Shark Tank.
I know.
Well, you had just gotten everything formulated. Exactly. Totally.
So,
Exactly.
and I think that was a hard answer, but I answered it most honestly.
Right.
That based on my figures, I didn't want them to do their due diligence and say,
Right.
you know, this lady's full of crap.
Oh.
And I don't want it, because they have that right
Totally.
to do their diligence. And
Totally.
I wanted to be honest with them from the beginning. And it was not a hard answer for me to answer.
Okay.
It was just like, it could have been better. I mean, like, my sales could have been better, of course, but
Right.
that was hard because it was just the reality of my struggling business.
No,
Yeah.
okay.
Do you get women coming up to you now after, you know, because now they're showing Shark Tank on MSNBC. It's in syndication now, and it's doing, I think it's the highest rated
It
show
is.
on MSNBC. So do you get a lot of women coming up to you now, or what is the effect after going on Shark Tank? Has that market opened up for you after, or celebrities watch the show
What
too?
Ray has called the Shark Tank effect.
Shark
right?
Tank effect. Right. Thank you, man.
It is a Shark Tank effect, and I think that's pretty well, like, a lot. It's been replicated. Even people who are Shark Tank winners, I'm like I would still consider myself a winner, even though I didn't.
Well, you don't say I
That's
called you a
right.
winner. You
That's
don't say I
right.
called you a winner.
Yeah,
Right.
and even though I didn't win Survivor or anything else, I still feel like I have had this exposure. And I actually didn't answer your other questions. Like, what did I learn from being on Survivor that I brought on to Shark Tank? I would say the comfort of being around cameras all the time and being very mindful of how I speak. That was very, very helpful. That's like instant media training. And I would say that people are more like, people are like, oh, that product was on Shark Tank. It lends more credibility. And even if you didn't get a deal with one of the sharks, you still feel like you've had that Shark Tank effect. And we definitely feel that because the sales have been very consistent. over the course since the episode had aired.
Yeah, you got the social media groups, you got the LinkedIn groups, the Facebook groups, you got the reruns on MSNBC, you got it on YouTube, you got it on Vimeo, you got it everywhere, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing.
That's true.
And a list of videos. Any of you who care, go to her site.
Wow,
My
look at
goodness.
that.
I mean, my goodness.
Yes.
Dr. Moss everywhere. Look at the print.
Love her stuff.
You're very generous.
That's
Thank you.
amazing, yeah.
You know, it's
That is
funny
amazing.
because I hit the jackpot twice with Shark Tank because it aired the first time in October, and then because of the Olympics, they weren't doing new episodes, so my episode ran again on ABC. My episode hasn't actually aired on CBS yet because I think they're running through the first season. So far.
MSNBC.
MSNBC.
Yeah.
So that is like the gift that keeps on giving with syndication and being on the show.
Yeah, one of the other entrepreneurs that I interviewed, she said the same thing. It's the gift that keeps on giving and giving and giving. And even though their deal fell through, they're still reaping the rewards of the episodes being shown. 2-3 years after they've been on the program.
This year, the producers, when they sat us down for our interview, they told us there was close to 70,000 applications
Wow.
through the internet, and then they do open casting.
Oh, wow.
And then they invite about 1,000 people, and they film about 300 odd people, and then only air like less than 200. So you do feel like you're cherry picked, and it feels pretty amazing when they tell you that.
Yeah, Migo, you have another question?
Well, you know,
Statement?
I'm thinking of the panel, the Shark Tank panel. I watched that show. It's one of my favorite shows. And I wanted to ask you, Dr. Edna, who did you like out of all the judges on there, or did you feel like some type of connection with that you think would have gave you the opportunity?
Going into the show, I thought that it would be fantastic if I had gotten a show with Lori Grenier or Mark Cuban.
We're always saying that. We're always saying that.
Because I think that I would connect mostly with a woman entrepreneur, and she's the youngest female shark. And I think that if it was with Mark Cuban, he brings a lot of other kind of macho-ness and sophistication to the business that when you talk to other people who have done deals with him, he doesn't just sign a deal and here's your money, I want a royalty or 20 cents every time you sell a unit like Mr. O'Leary does. I feel like he's really involved, and I feel like he probably would have been a really good fit too, even though he's a straight male. But I think Lori probably would have been the most obvious choice because she has her television connection too, and they sell so many beauty products on QVC, and even something like perfume that you can't even smell or experience over television does extremely well on HSN and QVC. And you think that something like perfume you'd want to go try in person, but they do extremely well. So I thought that my product would be a natural extension to that growing audience. And I think that for her and probably the other sharks, they didn't want to spend their spare time talking about pubic hair. So I really felt that was probably the main limitation as to why I think if I was selling, I don't know, Ava the elephant, and I'm a physician or something like that, that would have been like a no-brainer for any of those guys because it's something you can show. It's not like rated R or X at best, you know? Okay, so I think that was part of the main limitation because it's not fun talking about that thing.
Even though it seems like that is part of the catchiness to me of the product. That's what makes the product catchy and unique. Just looking at it here, the doctor that understands. Panties plus cream equals bare, beautiful, sexy, and the pink panties.
Yes.
To me, it's all. I kind of thought it was catchy.
You're not even our demographic niche.
Right, I was impressed. Right, and the numb nuts. You know, I think that deserves its own full court press.
I think living on the coast, I think we're a little bit more progressive at thinking like that.
Yeah.
We're more open about talking about that whole process, but the majority of the customers that are probably watching QVC don't follow that.
I don't know, Dr. Edna. I think your product would be something to talk about than supposed to going out and see a movie about people dating and walking in nude or women using tampons or coat tags on TV.
Yeah. Well, you know,
they show
compare it to
on
that.
air, and that's been seen internationally.
Yeah.
So I would think her product would be
Well,
something to
I
talk
say
about.
this. I
Including
look at
numbnuts.
Dr. Oz, I look at the phenomenon. There's a phenomenon that's going on with physicians who are stepping out who are expanding the horizons by going right to the public and giving different points of view, different kinds of products. And I think that Dr. Edna looks like the next one. When you think of Dr. Oz, I mean, that's kind of an overachiever. And I mean, physician,
It's hard.
survivor. That's really some kind of a record there.
No, absolutely.
My
absolutely.
Tiger Mom role too. That's
Yeah.
all the time. So.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think that after seeing you on the doctors there, it seems like that would be a natural progression for you, because it seems like being on the camera like that is really natural for you.
It does.
Yeah, it does. She's all giggling, but it does.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, I feel much more comfortable when I was on that. You couldn't tell, but I was like, okay, I can't even say my product concentration right. That was, now that I've gotten a little bit more comfortable, primarily because of Survivor, like you're in your underwear, you're being interviewed on high definition.
I'm going to go back and pull those up.
It's pretty horrible. Like, progressively, the interviews at the beginning of the season, I'm wearing my little suit, I have my little button-up Oxford shirt on, and then towards the end I'm just in my bra, and even the producers are like, so you're not even gonna wear something to cover that up? I'm like, oh, maybe I should. But you start to get comfortable with it, and so I've gotten more comfortable.
We got just a few minutes left here. Any last thoughts you'd like to share with our audience? Anybody maybe wanting to get on Shark Tank, or maybe Survivor, or developing a product, or something of advice, takeaways that you can give?
You role model you.
There's a lot of information on that right now. It's like fail fast, fail early. I think that there's a lot to be learned by that, and I think that there's no harm in trying, because the worst, like for me, like I said, okay, this opportunity of Survivor presented itself. I'm like, sure, just do it. What's the worst case that can happen? Like, you go on this camping expedition, and I did want to quit after day 2, and it was just absolutely horrible because people were just mean to me, and I was getting hungry, and I was just greasy, and it was just terrible. And I think you just have to try and persevere, but don't be smart about it, because if you feel like you're keep persevering. Sometimes those should be signals to you when you should be flexible in your path and how you create things.
Mario?
No, I just want to say, once again, a wonderful role model for not just the women out there, but also for the men as entrepreneurs who already in a career. So many of us already in a career, but not really seeking just to have a comfort zone, to go forward, to strive in whole new areas. Once again, we kind of have to always celebrate that. Again, Ray's show, like he says, the Shark Tank effect, and the people that he brings on here are the folks who have taken upon themselves to go further, work hard. It takes a lot of guts, and we want to celebrate you for that and your tenacity.
Yes. All right. All right, this has been Conversations with Shark Tank winners, our second season. Want to thank the tech guru here, the man behind Pack Stereo TV, Mario Hemsley. And I want to thank Miko back over there. Miko, thanks a lot.
Got your back.
And also the man with the plan back there, Victor Allen. Vic, thanks a lot. Until next time.
Sorry.
All right.
It's
Technical
not easy.
difficulty.
But you fast forward a couple years, it feels like you've achieved some things. When you're in the trenches, it's not. It feels like why can't this go faster? Why can't people respond to emails faster? What's wrong with them?
We appreciate you, but again,
so do.
all the years it takes to become a physician, you learn to delay gratification, work hard, and keep your eyes on the prize.
Yeah, it helps, because now this day and age, it's like instant message. Why haven't you texted me back? It's been 3 minutes. you know what I mean? That's how people are these days.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Edna, I just have to say, I have 2 products to look forward to. Now I have Proactive, giving big ups to other female doctors that are doing their thing, and I think you're in the right behind them. So I'm tired of using Nair. So I look forward to this.
Using Nair.
Yes, I'm tired of using Nair. So I look forward to your
the thing
product.
is with black hair too, it's textured
Right.
and curly.
Right.
So if you use a lot of Nair and get ingrown hairs, you'll get either infections or get ingrown hair with a lot of bumps.
Right.
I'm sorry. I have a question for you real quick. How long am I going to stay numb using this?
So we actually use that product for premature ejaculation too.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
So it's like
Urge control.
Urge control. Wow.
No, it's true.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
It's true. That one it still works, but it's just like they have only a very short, like a 2-year half-life, but it'll still work. These
See,
regulations.
Ray, you notice
her
her physician side allowed her to say premature ejaculation
Yeah,
with,
you can say
with
it
such
straight
ease.
face.
You doctors are another braid here, man. You're on another planet, man.
You say it with another. You say it with. You just have to say certain things, like like the homosexuality thing. It's true.
It's the truth.
But now straight men are doing it too. So, and being in the operating room, and I'm sure with you see young children going through puberty, they are very very young. They're shaving.
Right. All right.
It's true. So with I definitely like waxing because you can stay hairless longer and your skin is much smoother. And I have samples for you.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
We're going to get our samples from Dr. Edna. And she's got to get out of here just a minute. She said absolutely, so we don't want her to be late. Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Shark Tank Winners, hosted by your own Ray Ibarra. And while we rejoin our previously scheduled programming, we're going to get pictures and postings, and it'll all be up on the site later on today. Peace, you all.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you. You guys have been a blast. Stay tuned for our next scheduled regular program.